Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. So in this week's video I decide for my travel plans going to Europe to get an internet upgrade on the van. Let's check it out. So for my trip going abroad, going through France and Spain and to the Canary Islands, I've decided to get my pennies out and do an addition to the van. What is it? Well, it's this. Starlink. Now, if you don't know what Starlink is an internet system, but rather than working on a mobile phone, SIM card, this is actually Starlink satellite communication. So it's where with this, the van connects up to a satellite up in the sky, way up there somewhere, and you've got internet, in theory, basically, anywhere where you can see the sky. Right, so it's time for an unboxing. Let's see what you get in the package here. I have noticed that it does say that you need to activate within 7 days. But how do they know when you've bought it? Is the shop telling Starlink? I don't know. Anyway, let's open it. And then we got another one here. And then in the box, we've got some instructions. But let's see what we actually get in the box. Just let me put this to one side. So we've got a mounting bracket with an Allen key. We've got the mains adapter with a UK plug on. We've got the dish antenna there with its little stand. I think that might be a bit of a template for it. And we've got a cable. What sort of cable is it? So this is the power cable which goes into the Starlink and goes into your power adapter. And there you go. That's it. What more do you need? Well, just let me get rid of this. So basically the difference, I'll explain this in more detail, but basically the difference with the Starlink Mini is inside the Mini is the router and everything built into here. So once you connect it up, you just put it outside, it finds a signal in the sky, and then the router, it has its own Wi-Fi in there, and normally you would connect to the Wi-Fi and away you go. I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to connect this with an internet cable into my Wi-Fi, because then you're not having to change your Wi-Fi and all your devices when you use a Starlink. When you're not using the Starlink, then you change it back to your own Wi-Fi. So that's how we're going to do it. But anyway, there it is, Starlink. So it's time to get on the roof and see where we're going to put the Starlink. So on the roof, I've got my 3 solar panels here, 3 400-watt solar panels. These 2 are connected together and go to one solar controller. This one goes to a separate one. And then here on the roof, I've got my Max air fan. And here and on the other side, these are communications antennas that came with the ambulance. There used to be 3 of them. I took one out to cut the hole for the Max air fan. And now the one over that side is just a mobile antenna. and this one is actually a little bit different. As well as having the mobile antenna in, it has two Wi-Fi antennas in and also a GPS antenna. So that was in the middle. I moved it over there. So this is where my 5G internet is connected to at the moment. It's going off both antennas. So I've got a little bit of space left here to put Starlink. So that is the size of the Starlink dish. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect it up and just actually test the system now. So what I'm going to do now is get back up the ladder again just to place my Starlink mini dish. But what I decided to do is something a little bit different, because all the brackets that I've seen for the dish, there's brackets that you can get inside and to put your dish, you know, in a motorhome inside, so it's looking through the glass. But these brackets where you can get this and put it on the roof. But I haven't seen anybody put it inside a box. So rather than getting the dish and then getting all the weatherproof cables that go through the socket at the end, which are quite expensive, I've decided to get a box. I've put it on the roof, so I'll show you what I'm going to do. But then what I've decided to do is get this box here, and my idea is to get the Starlink dish. Oops. Get the Starlink dish, put it inside the box, obviously secure it inside the box, but then secure the box down to the roof. Now, instead of getting something like this, you know, for the solar cables, instead of getting one for the internet, what I'm going to do is drill a hole down here straight through, which will take me to where my cables are above my electric locker, and then I can just use normal cables into this down through there. Don't need weather sealing, and then put the lid on, and then the Starlink will be nice and dry in there, and Bob's your uncle. So let's give that a go. So before I actually screw anything down, I'm just going to put some cables into it, check the position's okay, and then put the lid on and check that the Starlink works through the plastic. Now, in theory it should, but I just want to give it a test. So let's do that. Okay, we're back on the roof. I've got this Starlink plugged in. Now, it's just plugged into a normal 240 volt main socket just for the time being, just for testing. And I'm going to take the lid off, just move that over there for now. Get the Starlink and just plug it in. And there's a little blue light come on, don't know if you can see that, to show that it is powering up. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there. So it's more or less flat. And then I just need to get my phone, which I've left downstairs. So I'm just going to go and get that. I'll tell you something, it's not so warm today. I'm definitely looking forward to when I go abroad, go through France and Spain, because it's whether I'm getting old, I'm feeling the cold now. Let's see if we can do a speed test. Yeah, so even though it's doing an optimization, we're getting a speed test now. So it's saying in this position it's getting 108 megabits per second down, and we've got 5 up with 36 your ping time. Let's just give that another run again. So we're doing this run again. and now we've got, it went up to 120, but now we've got 98 down and 19 up, 20, 21, 22 up and 23. So what I'm going to do now is run that again, but with the plastic lid on. So I've got the plastic lid on now. Let's run it again. Went to 134 now. $125 and 1920 up. Up and 17. But basically you can see that having it in a plastic box doesn't make any difference. The reason being, if you've got a satellite dish at home, you'll know that on your satellite dish it has a thing called an LMB on the end, which gets the satellite waves and converts it into a low frequency that goes into the satellite receiver. But as you know, the end of that is covered in plastic, and you know, plastic, even though it keeps the light out, the frequency at which these satellite waves are travelling, they just go through the plastic like it's glass, so there's no problem. So putting Starlink in a box, to me, is a good idea. So we're going to give that a go, and I'm just going to mark the holes now of where it's going to go. Okay, what I'm going to show you now is, so this is above my electrical cupboard, which is outside. So you can see it there. There's my sticker wall, but you can see it there. And these are the cables coming from outside for the solar controller. So next to it, around about here, is where the hole is going to go, and I'll put my Starlink cables through there, which has still got plenty of space because I've got this here, because eventually I'm going to put a piece of wood across there to make another cupboard. But for the time being, I'm going to drill a hole, come through here, and then go through this. This actually screws off, put the wires through here, and then it goes into my, what I call communications cupboard. So if I lift that up, you can see I've got some, I think I need some new supports, but you can see I've got some switches here. There's a radio there which I've never used. I installed it and never used, but I'm going to put the Starlink on that switch there eventually, and then it's going to connect up to my 5G router. And then what will happen is, when the Starlink is off, it'll go onto the 5G, and when the Starlink is on, Starlink will take over and it'll just go from the Starlink. Right, so better get some drill and some tools out and start drilling holes. So I've got a couple of places to put this. I could put it here, or I could put it in line further forward, but then I thought, well, maybe you might be able to see that from the side. So if I put it here, I don't think you're going to be able to. So I think that'll be okay there. So we'll do it here. Helps if you put a battery on, doesn't it? Okay, lock and load, let's go. So I'm just going to get this bit that's stuck out of the drill here. So that's basically what we've got. Aluminium, we've got insulation all the way through, and just the next bit of aluminium. So just got that to get through. Okay, I'm just going to clean this surface now before I stick the box down. Got to get this nice and clean. The only thing is, it's putting the rest of the roof to shame. I might have to clean the rest of it. Okay, that's well and truly stuck down, but what I'm going to do is just put a couple of self-tappers in there just to hold it as well while it goes off. So I think I'm going to have to get a move on because it feels like it's going to rain actually. So all I've got to do now is connect the network cable, which is going to go to my router, because we're going to disable the modem. We're going to disable the router part that's in here. And now the power cable, quite a long cable, that's going to go down here as well. Okay, it's just started raining, so I'm time to pack up all the tools, get them back inside, and then we'll do the inside bits. At the moment, the Starlink is just sat inside the box, but what I'm going to do when it stops raining is I've got some sticky pads that you can stick down and then put cable ties to. So I'm going to fasten it in with the plastic cable ties that won't affect the signal with those sticky pads as well. So I'll do that later. Let's pack up and then get inside. Okay, I'm back in the van. So what we need to do now is I've got two cables from above. One the network cable and one the power cable, which I've got here. So I've taken the cover off. All I need to do now is run these cables through this here, through there, into this cupboard where all my communication stuff is, and then we're more or less good to go. Okay, the cables are run in now. We've got the two cables here from the Starlink, we've got the network cable, and we've got the power cable. So they've gone across behind there, put that back. Quite a long cable for your power supply, so I've got quite a lot of spare. So I'm just going to bundle that up over there, because like I say, I'm going to make a panel here and all the spare wiring is going to go behind that anyway. So what I'm going to do now is just give you a brief description of basically how Starlink works and how we can put Starlink into a van. So up on the screen you see we've got the Starlink dish. Now we're talking about Starlink Mini here. The standard dishes are slightly different, but we're talking about the Starlink Mini, and you've got the dish there. It is flat, it's a flat dish, so call it flat dish antenna, but you've got the dish there that collects the signal, and it is a small portable unit. So basically what you'd normally do is just put it outside, connect it to a power source, and away you go. So you've got the dish there. So we are talking about a Starlink Mini. The difference with the Mini is it does have the router built in. So you've got a built-in Wi-Fi in there. So all you need to do is just connect it to the power, and basically away you go. I mean, obviously you've got to go on the app, you've got to register for an account, you've got to pay Elon Musk some money, but then away you go. So there's Starlink, and it does have its own Wi-Fi built in. So once it's set up and running, you can connect your phone, your computer, any device you want that's got Wi-Fi to it, and you've got internet. So let's get your van. Here's your van. Now, normally you set up, it depends. Some people have a phone in the van and they just tether to the phone. But I'm talking here about systems that are a little bit, more complicated. So if you've got your van, like I have, and that's got its own Wi-Fi as well. So basically, if you've got both systems running, you're going to have two Wi-Fis to pick up on. You've got your Starlink Wi-Fi, and you've got your van Wi-Fi as well. So you might have these items, a mobile phone, you might have a laptop, you might have a TV or Fire Stick or anything like that. So obviously if you're tethering to your phone, we're not talking about that. We're talking about these items. And this is how I use my van. These items are tethered or connected to my van Wi-Fi. And as you can see there, all those are connected to the Wi-Fi. I don't have it tethered through the phone, so that they're just on, and the van Wi-Fi is connected to a router, and it has its own SIM card, and it's connected to the internet all the time, as long as you've got a signal, obviously. So this is a router that I've got in my van, so it's got its own Wi-Fi. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to get rid of the Starlink Wi-Fi and just have the van Wi-Fi. Then all the devices, you're not having to connect them to Starlink when you want to use Starlink and then reconnect them to your van Wi-Fi. It's better to connect Starlink into your van. You're still using just the van Wi-Fi network. You aren't having to make any changes on your devices. And it's just to make things a lot easier if you've got this sort of setup. So here's two pictures here. On the left-hand side is the underside of the Starlink mini dish. You can see there's two sockets there. The one on the left is for the power input, and the one on the right, it does have a network socket there. And then on the right-hand side, here is a typical modem that you might have in your van. And one of the ports will be marked WAN, W-A-N, wide area network, and all you need to do is just run a cable from your Starlink Mini and you connect it to the WAN port there of your router, and then you only got one Wi-Fi system. You don't have to change any of your devices, and this is how I'm going to set it up in my van. So Starlink will be on. If Starlink is off, if I don't need it, you don't need to have it on all the time. You can turn Starlink off, and then my internet will be working through the 5G system that I've got. But then if you turn Starlink on, it will supersede the 5G, and everything just connects through automatically. And that's the system and how I'm setting it up in my van. So what I'm going to do now is do some testing of Starlink just to see how much power it actually uses when it's in operation and what voltages you can run it on. Now it says on the website, on Starlink's website, that it uses between 25 and 40 watts of power. But it also says on the Starlink website that you can use it with 12 volts to 48 volts. But then it does say in brackets, 12 volt short Starlink cable coming soon. Right, so the cable that came with it was quite long. And I have noticed that these companies on the internet that are selling converters, that they say when you use Starlink, you need to update the 12 volts, update up the power. They've got converters that change the 12 volts to 48 volts to run the Starlink. So are these converters absolutely necessary when running Starlink in your van? So let's find out. So first off, I've measured the actual voltage coming out of the 240 mains power adapter, and as you can see, the voltage there is at 30 volts. So even though Starlinks supposedly runs from 12 to 48 volts, the actual unit is 30 volts that you get with the kit. So that's fine, that's going to work. So what we're going to do is now connect Starlink, take the power, run it through. I have like a bench power supply, which will actually monitor how much amps is going, and then we can see how much power it's going to be using. So first up, we're going to connect Starlink with the 30 volts, the same as what comes out of the power unit, and we're going to connect it up and just see how much power that it actually uses. So now we've connected the Starlink system, and now it is booting up, and it's taking roughly about 0.4 of an amp. So now we've got Starlink on, it's up and running. It took them, the maximum I saw was 1.2 amps, and then it went down to around about 0.6 amps, and then 0.7, 0.8. So basically it's hovering between 20 watts and maybe 35 watts. That's what it's doing at 30 volts. So let's now test it at a lower voltage. I'm going to test it now because my van is a 24 volt system. So I'm going to test it now at 24 volts. and see what results we get. So now we're running it at 24 volts. You can see that the amps is slightly higher. The maximum that it went to was 1.4 amps. That's around about 34 watts, but it's averaging around about, say, 0.9. Well, let's say it's averaging around about 1 at 24 volts. That's 24 watts of power that it's using. So let's reduce the voltage even further and see what happens. So this is where it got a little bit interesting, because what I did was I dropped the power down to say people in a 12 volt van system, give it the benefit of the doubt, tried it at 14.4 volts. And when I did that, even though the Mini was drawing power, it didn't work. It had stopped transmitting. And so 12 volts, 14 volts, it didn't work. Tried it at 18 volts, and that didn't work either. It's only when I got it up to 20 volts that it started working again. So this is why when you go, if you're going to get it for a 12 volt van, they do sell these systems that changes the voltage from 12 up to 48. 48 is the maximum, that doesn't matter, but so you do definitely need a converter to convert your 12 voltage up to a higher voltage to use Starlink Mini. And I found that the minimum voltage, now bearing in mind this is on the long cable that comes with it, so obviously you're going to get a voltage loss down the cable. If you've got a tiny short cable, then it's going to be a different voltage, but I'm using the cable that came supplied with the Starlink Mini. And if you've got a voltage which is under 20 volts, it will not work. Now my system is 24 volts, or on average, my batteries are sitting around about 26 volts. So I'm going to be fine. So you do need this converter. If you're going to use it for a 12 volt system, it won't run off 12 volts. It does need to be converted to be higher. So it's time to set off back on the road again. This time I'm going to Willowfields campsite, which is the other side of Doncaster to me. It's for a Halloween weekend meetup, meeting a few friends there, and also I think it's the northeast campers. So looking forward to meeting everyone there. And it's time to hit the road down the motorway. Let's go. So here I've arrived at Willowfields campsite, which is in Hacksey, and yeah, come for the what's happening over there is they've got a Halloween party. It's absolutely chucking it down at the moment. So I'm here for a meet-up with the Northeast campers, but I've just spoke to one of the organisers, Alan, had a nice chat with him, but I'm going to get inside because it's raining and get myself sorted out and get the kettle on. So while I'm here at Willowfields campsite, this is going to be a good time to test the Starlink, because basically I'm in the middle of a field. There's nothing around me, no obstacles, trees, buildings, or anything like that. So let's give Starlink a test and see how we're going to do. So the test did vary. The best speed that I got was 167 down and 19 up. But having said that, the lowest was 80, and the best speed I had up was actually 30 as well. So it does vary. But as long as you get an internet and it's a fairly decent speed, that's okay. Well, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. No traveling really in this one this week, but it was more about the Starlink. But I hope you found it informative if you're thinking of getting Starlink for your van or motorhome. I hope it's given you some pointers on that. And the other thing is, next week we're going to be looking at the van, because I'm going to be going to France and Spain soon. So we've got some upgrades on the van for that. And also this time of year, there's not much solar about. So I do need to plug in to charge up. So I'll show you how I do that. Once again, many thanks for watching. If you can do me a favour, if you've not subscribed yet, if you could like and subscribe, it'd be much appreciated. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.